Learn of me, for I am meek and lowly of heart. Yes, Christ was meek. If he had not been meekness, then neither would he have been the one he declared himself to be. But if he had not been meekness, then neither would he have suffered so much. Then the world itself would have been excited at the injustice done him. But his meekness concealed the world's guilt. He did not assert his rights. He did not appeal to his innocence. He did not talk about how they had sinned against him. Not with a single word did he call attention to the atrocious guilt. Even in his last moment he said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Does not his meekness conceal their guilt, which becomes as if far, far less than it is through his speaking in this way about it, whereas in another sense it becomes even more terrible through sinning against meekness? When Peter had denied him 3 times, and Christ only meekly looked at him, does not this meekness over Peter's guilt hide it and make it something far less? Listen merely to the exclamations used to deny his Lord 3 times at the very moment when he is betrayed into the power of his enemies, insulted and derided. You shudder when your attention is called to it, not at the description of it, but only at the assertion. Christ's meekness, however, prevents one from noticing how deep this fall is. This meekness we should learn of him, and this meekness is the definite sign of the Christian. If anyone smites thee on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. Matthew 5:39. It is not meekness to strike back. It is not meek for you to find yourself in the wrong and take it for what it is, but it is meek for you to turn your left cheek to him. Magnanimity also bears injustice, but it really does it, so that it appears greater than it is when it lifts itself above it. Patience also endures injustice, but it does not make it less than it is. Only meekness makes the injustice less, for if one will not accept something for what it is, and this something is injustice, injury, insult, then one makes the grievance less. Let this take place before our eyes. At the moment the first blow falls, is it not true that your attention is arrested by the injustice, and you see it in the magnanimity, and you see it in the patience? But when the meek quietly turns his left cheek, then you are prevented from noticing it. He bears the injustice so lightly that you almost feel less exasperated with the perpetrator. It is not meekness for you to forgive your enemy, but the 70 times 7 that is meekness, or the fact that the meek is so concerned in forgiving that it almost looks as if it were he who needed forgiveness, that the meek, who humbly knows how heaven's forgiveness of himself depends on his forgiveness, really needs to forgive his enemy. Hence meekness bears the heavy burden lightly, and the heavy burden of injustice so lightly that it is as if the fault of the guilty man became less. Paganism does not know this meekness. It has in the Christian sense one glorious quality, that it has no earthly reward, and then one more glorious quality, that its reward is great in heaven. We have spoken about how the Christian bears the heavy burden lightly, how he does not differ from other men in being exempt from the burden, but that he is a Christian through bearing it lightly. He who bears the easy yoke, and he who, heavy laden, bears the light burden, he is a Christian. But when Christ speaks of the light burden, when he says, "my burden," then by that there must be some quite particular thought of the burden which he has laid upon his disciples. He has indeed impressed upon them that they are to bear human burdens lightly, but then also a light burden which is peculiar to the Christian. What is this? Let us first ask the question in this way. What is the heaviest of all burdens? It is indeed the consciousness of sin, Of that there can be no doubt. But the one who takes away the consciousness of sin and gives the consciousness of forgiveness in its place, he indeed takes the heavy burden away and gives the light one in its stead.